With episode 4 of Loki being left on quite the cliffhanger, speculations are already being made about episode 5. Who are these Loki variants? Where is Mobius? And how will Loki escape the shattered timeline? We know from the little footage that we have been given that Loki at some point will come across a battleship marked DE-173, otherwise known as the USS Eldridge. But what if we told you that much like the story of DB Cooper in episode 1, there is a real-life mystery surrounding this particular ship? Take a seat as we tell you the story behind one of the most intriguing and disturbing military urban legends in modern history, so that you can wow your friends with your extensive history knowledge when episode 5 of Loki premieres. The story of the Philadelphia experiment begins in 1943, during the height of the Second World War, when the US government began experimenting with classified technology that would cloak their cannon-class destroyers from radar. The USS Eldridge was at the epicenter of this brand new experimentation. As the story goes, in October of 1943, when the USS Eldridge began the first test of its cloaking engines, the generators whirred to a deafening degree. The Eldridge became engulfed in what witnesses called a force field of eerie blue-green light, and in a flash, the glow rendered the ship invisible to both radar as well as the naked eye. The ship vanished seemingly into thin air without a trace, despite hundreds to possibly thousands of sailors and crewmates on the vessel, and the neighboring ships bearing witness to this incredible display. They documented the event in countless journals and articles. But the mystery doesn't end there. The ship was later discovered in Norfolk Naval Shipyard in Virginia, within mere hours of the incident. Reports of the ship being sighted circulated almost before the mainland caught word of the ship's initial disappearance. Then, almost as quickly as it had vanished, the ship reappeared right where it had vanished from, leaving the shipyard in Virginia and reappearing hundreds of miles away in the harbors of Philadelphia, though not without drastic consequences. When the ship was finally boarded and investigated, the government found that the crew and sailors had been affected in some rather dangerous and disturbing ways. Some accounts report that the sailors went through drastic mental trauma, with some going insane and suffering from various mental disorders including schizophrenia and PTSD. Other, more drastic accounts go so far as to claim that some members of the crew became fused with the hull of the ship itself, still alive but sealed to the metal in strange and grotesque ways. Many of the sailors would go on to contract mysterious illnesses, and the tale of the Philadelphia experiment and the USS Eldridge became the staples of urban military myths. So how does this relatively obscure urban legend tie in with our favorite god of mischief? Well, we know that the ship was placed in the trailer and in the show for a reason, be it a fun Easter egg or because it plays a larger role in the overarching plot of the next episode. We know that the producers of Loki enjoy tying the god of mischief into various historic mysteries across time, as we saw with the interpretation of the DB Cooper mystery. Is it possible that the ship was pruned by TVA agents? We see a mysterious lighting effect coursing through the objects and people that are pruned as they dissolve away. Is it possible that the TVA showed up to address a deviant timeline, pruned the entire ship, only for it to be sent to the seemingly shattered timeline that we see Loki in? If this is the case, then this ship could end up being Loki's vessel back, as he somehow unprunes the ship, sending it back to its original point in time, and addressing the mystery of its apparent teleportation. One theory circulating states that the potential Loki variants we see in the post-credit scene of episode 4 aren't other versions of Loki, but are in fact survivors of the Chitauri invasion of 2012. The theory proposes that a timeline in which Loki won was one of the red line timelines that the TVA could not maintain. Therefore, they abandoned the timeline and used it as a sort of dumping ground for anything and anyone that gets pruned. We know that Loki is somewhat of a drama queen. After all, the first thing he did when he took over Asgard was build a monument to himself and watch a play based on his life while eating grapes. This means it wouldn't be too far to infer that these survivors are trying to appease their new overlord by dressing in his image, and that the costuming choices honor the various versions of Loki from the comics. If these survivors are sent back to 1943 aboard the USS Eldridge, it could explain why these inhabitants of the 40s believe them to be mentally unwell. The original crew of the USS Eldridge and the survivors of Loki's conquest may be sent back after spending who knows how long in this mysterious hellscape, struggling to survive. that would take its toll on even the most mentally sound individuals. As far as the crew members who were reportedly fused to the metal of the ship, it seems likely that the MCU will tone down this level of gore, and may omit this section altogether. As of now, the most grotesque scene in the modern Disney-controlled MCU is probably when Ronan slashes the throat of a Yakuza boss in Avengers Endgame, though that is up for debate, and due to Disney's standards, it is very likely that this aspect of the legend will merely be swept aside completely. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this theory? And did you know about the Philadelphia experiment already? Do you think this will be a plot point, or simply a fun Easter egg for dedicated fans to speculate about in the years to come? What are your thoughts on this urban legend? And what are your thoughts on the Loki series so far as a whole? If you're enjoying these videos, it would really help out if you could leave a like, and leave a comment down below. As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel, hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.